courage that digs deep when we need it, empathy that fuels democracy, the willingness to see each other not as enemies but as fellow Americans. Look, our democracy isn't perfect. It always has been. Notwithstanding those folks you hear on the other side there, they're entitled to be outrageous. This is a democracy.
That was Joe Biden there, attempting to unify the country with an inspiring speech, only to be met with some heckling. The president was addressing the country at the Independence Hall when a voice carried over his speech swearing at Mr. Biden. It's not the first time he's copped heckling in public, but he told the crowd that this guy was entitled to be outrageous. Even though the actual content of the president's speech drew headlines, the heckling gained attraction on Twitter. Benny Johnson said that the president had been humiliated by the savage heckling. However, Biden supporters took to the social media platform to praise the president for the way that he handled the situation. One person wrote, "I'm no Biden fan, but the heckler is the one that should be humiliated. No class, be better." Another wrote, "So glad that President Biden called out the absolute ridiculous behaviour of the person who is literally proving his point as he speaks. How embarrassing for the heckler to have the maturity of a screaming toddler." But this speech in general was met with controversy when the president basically said that if you're a Trump supporter or a MAGA enthusiast, then you are a threat to democracy. He went as far as to call them extremists, despite the fact that the speech was intended to close the divide between the country. CBS journalist Ed O'Keefe tweeted, "Like or loathe what he said tonight, it should be noted the president spoke tonight on the grounds of a national park flanked by US Marines and took direct, specific aim at his predecessor and members of the Republican Party. Another thing we don't see every day." Noah Rothman wrote, "This was an ill-conceived speech from conception to execution." David Harsani wrote, "Basically a smear of 70 million people in front of the flag and military on primetime TV, followed with one that conflates and distorts long-standing conservative positions with MAGA and extremism." While the president said that he doesn't mean that all Republicans embrace an extremist ideology, his address has hit a nerve to the over 70 million people who did vote for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. Take a look at some of the comments the president made in his address.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country. We're all called by duty and conscience to confront extremists who put their own pursuit of power above all else. Democrats, independents, mainstream Republicans, we must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy than MAGA Republicans are to destroying American democracy.